Where should I put the picture of me so that I'm looking in the right place? Here? Oh, that's great. Good job, Patrick. You look so great. Thanks, Patrick. So nice to hear that from you. Okay. So what I'm going to be doing right now is reading through the beginning of the graphic novel V for Vendetta, obtained here perfectly legally through this PDF shared by a person whose name I won't mention because I don't want to implicate him in any crimes. But I'm going to be applying the reader response theory as I best understand it. As is the case with all theories and really all ideas, and frankly, at a metaphysical level, all everything, a theory is just sort of a, I don't want to say nebulous, but an ephemeral sort of shifting set of ideas and approaches to a particular topic in terms of how to interpret, in this case, how to interpret and understand text. So I'm saying that as sort of a disclaimer, especially if I do examples later on with theories that I'm less, feel less familiar with, like maybe Russian formalism or new historicism. I don't think I'm terrible with that. You may have disagreements with what I think is entailed within a certain theory. I may be completely off base on something and just flat out wrong. It's possible. But I think if you wait until you feel like a master of a theory in order to engage with it, well, you just can't. Like, it's not how it works. A brief tangent here to discuss sort of discourse politics, but I think this is a challenge that we face in just our more casual or semi-formal social discourses, is that in order to be fully understood and sort of respected and allowed to participate inside a discourse, you need to know the particular terminology, shibboleths, et cetera, of that discourse. So there's this paradox, sort of like, you can't get a job in a film without a Screen Actors Guild card, but you can't get a Screen Actors Guild card unless, you got a job in a film, kind of stuff. So you've got to make mistakes in applying theories and misapply them and misunderstand them so that you can, through that process of practice, come to better understand and know them. It's a growing and learning process for everyone, and the boundaries of theories are changing, ebbing and flowing all the time. So I think post-structuralism is a great example of this. Post-structuralism is really just like sort of structuralism 2.0. It's just an improvement and sort of evolution of the theory. But enough of that. For reader response approach, I'm going to be focusing on this reality from the reader response perspective. I'm going to buy into the notion that a textual experience, some might say sort of textual performance. I'm just going to say a text only exists when I or someone else as a reader infuses meaning into it to sort of unlock it, gatekeeper, keymaster kind of style, right? So that's a sort of a layman's way of explaining the approach. But essentially, I'm going to always have in the forefront of my mind that I am the one constructing the meaning in this text, and that happens independent of and regardless of any authorial intent. There's a second layer on top of that, which I hope to apply, which is a further consideration of the different ways that other readers might interpret a text, which will hopefully draw our attention to those places within the text that are intentionally or otherwise, because it doesn't matter, ambiguous or leave room for interpretation. This is perhaps especially pertinent to this text for anyone who is watching this who happens to be taking my class, because we will be watching the movie as well. And a movie would be sort of a great example of a text that is constructed, a movie adaptation, text that is constructed based upon a reader's interpretation of a textual performance. Okay, so here we go. We got V for Vendetta. Oh my God, Patrick, you screwed up already. Okay, I'm going to be using the page down function. We got a lot of intro work here, but we're going to start here at the beginning of the story proper, V for Vendetta. Good evening, London. It's 9 o'clock, and this is the voice of fate broadcasting on its Oh, sorry, broadcasting on 275 and 285 in the medium wave. It is the 5th of the 11th, 1997. The 5th of the 11th, 1997. All right, so first immediate reaction is like, oh, well, when you're reading a PDF of a graphic novel, or maybe even a graphic novel in general, and you've got this stylized comic writing, it's not going to be immediately easy for me to suss out what exactly I'm reading. We got Jordan Tower. We got this nice Dutch angle here, which is me bringing over knowledge and terminology from film studies. This sort of canted diagonal angle, which can be used to show sort of instability, uncertainty, chaos. The weather will be fine until 12 a.m. when a shower will commence, lasting until 1:30 a.m. Okay, that's interesting. So we know the exact, we can pinpoint and precisely identify the weather here. We've got a camera that says for your protection. And we have got sort of huddled masses outside of a big building whose name I can't fully read. And this will highlight a crucial piece of reader response for me with graphic novels. I have to read everything twice at least, because I read the text and then I look at the images and then maybe I sort of reconsider them both together. For your protection, the temperature will vary between 13 and 14 degrees centigrade throughout the night. The people of London are advised that the Brixton and Streatham areas are quarantine zones as of today. It is suggested that these areas be avoided for reasons of health and safety. Oh, interesting. It's only suggested, though. That's nice. From the imagery, I would have guessed that it was required. Productivity reports from Hertfordshire indicate a possible end to meat rationing starting from mid-February 1998. Oh, wow. So we've dated this, okay, 1998. And also, we are in England. The good news follows similar announcements concerning the increased production of both eggs and potatoes. Okay, here's a huge piece of reader response. You're always going to be influenced by what other texts you've read, and more importantly, what other texts resonated with or are important to you. We recently covered 1984 in class. How could I not make an immediate connection here, right, to 1984 and the chocolate, right, and positive announcements about increased productions of eggs and potatoes. Now, here's another piece. Even though reader response says that I'm in charge of making the meaning of the text and the author's intent not so important, right? If I make the author's presumed intent important to my interpretation, then it becomes important. So a little bit of like a weird, I don't know if it's exactly a paradox here, but like if gender studies are really important to me, right, then any reader response sort of take that I have on a text will necessarily incorporate pieces of sort of gender studies theory. So I know a little bit about Alan Moore. I'm intrigued by Alan Moore. Based upon what I know about him and how I've heard him talk, I am going to assume that he is familiar with 1984, right? And he knows what he's doing in making this immediate sort of reference, right, to what in 1984 turned out to be fallacious reports, okay, of production and surplus, right? And also prices for things, or sorry, not prices for things, the quota of the chocolate ration. He knows what he's doing, and this is a deliberate reference. That's part of my reader response. Right. It's interesting that we have a reflection shot here. Anytime a reflection shot is the first shot of our character. So look, we see our character here from the side, and then we see our character here in reflection. So it's interesting that even though we are seeing our character's face, we're only seeing it reflected off something. Police raided 17 homes in the Birmingham area early this morning, uncovering what is believed to be a major terrorist ring. Okay, interesting. I don't know Britain's full history with sort of terrorism in 1998 or pre-1998. I know there were issues with like IRA bombings on undergrounds at some point. But I do know for me as an American reader who knows that September 11, 2001 is, you know, only just around the corner, and there were other terrorist activities, like for instance, the first bombing of the World Trade Center in the 90s. This is a little like perk up moment for like, oh, I see what you might be doing here with your dystopian lit. 20 people, 8 of them women, are currently in detention awaiting trial. Okay, 8 of them women. You could have said 12 of them men. But we're going to assume, since you highlighted the women, that this is a society where it is surprising, right, that 8 of these 20 terrorists were women, that we're surprised, right? Or perhaps we should be ashamed that women are stooping to such atrocities. Queen Zara today appeared at the opening of a new waste reclamation plant in Plaistow. This was the Queen's first public appearance since her 16th birthday in June. Okay, learning a lot here. We have a different Queen of England, right? R.I.P. Elizabeth II. And this is also a young Queen of England, right? She just turned 16 in June, right? Is there supposed to be some humor here? A water reclamation plant. Okay, it's the sewage treatment center, right? It's like we're getting the poop out of the water. That's the Queen's first public appearance since her 16th birthday. Is that saying something about what the job is as it currently stands in England? I mean, is there a lot of metaphorical poop that needs to be cleaned out of the water here, or is there something else going on? The Queen was wearing a suit of peach silk created especially for the occasion by the royal couturier. Okay. Okay. Well, and then see, this is when my reading of sort of text first and image later sometimes pays off. We see, again, not a full-on shot of our character's face, but she is looking down at what she is wearing. I have deficient color vision, and I don't know exactly what peach silk would look like, but I'm going to guess that our character here is not wearing a peach silk designer dress. Perhaps she is feeling self-conscious about that. Interesting also that that's like the first thing. It's not what the Queen said at this reclamation plant. It's what she was wearing. In a speech today, Mr. Adrian Carrell, Party Minister for Industry, stated that Britain's industrial prospects are brighter than at any time since the last war. Ooh. Well, when was the last war? Good sir. And sounds like we're hearing more positive propaganda. And now here we have a shot of someone pulling on a glove, and there's a wig below. Exciting. Everybody's getting dressed up to go out tonight. Mr. Carrell went on to say that it is the duty of every man in this country to seize the initiative and make Britain great again. Holy crap. Did he really say make Britain great again? Oh my God. That's like Donald Trump and like the bad people in our country. Oh my gosh. Wow. No one ever brought this up. I literally never, like, I mean, I know people who have read this. No one ever mentioned to me that this, in case you didn't know, yeah, the publishing of this comic does predate Donald Trump's presidential candidacy. Wow. Yeah, make Britain great again. Crazy. Also crazy how sort of one person using a positive symbol or statement can corrupt or pollute it for all time. And that is the face of London tonight. We remind you that tomorrow is the final date for the completion of your census forms. Oh, wow. So a lot here. First of all, she's looking at another reflection of herself. Doesn't look like she's super happy with what she's seen, right? And we have the loudspeaker using the word face. Okay, so we've got a guy, right, in our previous panel putting on a mask. We've got a girl, woman looking into a mirror, right? Looking at her face. Looks like she's got some rouge, some lipstick. She's putting on a face. Shout out to Brittany for pointing out the mask and makeup pairing to me. Okay. Oh, and that was all a prologue because look, chapter 1, the villain. Interesting. And the target date for the conclusion of the Deptford Marsh Clearance Project. This is the voice of fate signing off. Have a pleasant evening. All right. It's funny that have a pleasant evening comes after signing off. And I like how the bubbles sort of make that, at least for me, into a little bit of a joke. I like the fact that we are carrying that the voiceover sort of continues the, can I say mise en scène here? That's probably not right. It stops there from being a hard cut between the prologue and chapter 1, okay, or the forward material and chapter 1. So we have sort of a seamless transition here, a la a film reel, right? And chapter 1, the villain, we've got this sort of old westerny kind of font, right? We've got a character who has some callbacks to a gunslinger. You know, he's got this cloak here, which could be thrown back much like a poncho or serape. We've got knives in his belt. In a not dissimilar way from the way someone might carry a 6-shooter back in the day. Right? He's in a mirror looks like, you know, again, so another shot in the mirror here, two characters side by side. And also he's in a mirror at what looks like a performance venue, maybe a green room, a dressing room, right? At some performance locale. So a very meta moment here where we have sort of a performance within the text, you know, a text within the text, so to speak. All right. Parliament's cold shadow falls on Westminster Bridge, and she shivers. There was power here once, power that decided the destiny of millions. Her transactions, her decisions are insignificant. They affect no one. Mister? Except her. Would you like to sleep with me or anything? I mean, for money? Wow. Okay. First of all, Parliament's Cold Shadow, is this just the narrator? So this is a different box than the loudspeaker. It's a square. I don't know a ton about comics. I'm going to assume that's just our narrative voice, right? And here we have a guy with pipe, right? Just chilling against the wall here. And okay, this is what she was dressing up and going out for. She is at least a would-be sex worker. That's the clumsiest piece of proposition I've ever heard. You've not been doing this very long, have you? Oh God, I must be really terrible. Yeah, you're right. It's my first night. You're my first customer? Customer, yeah. I've got a job in munitions, but the money is, you know, it isn't enough. Look, mister, I really need that money. I'd be okay. I mean, I'm 16. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't know what you're doing. Wow. Okay. So a lot. We're supposed to react to this, I think. Well, so again, here I'm assuming authorial intention. My reaction is like, okay, 16. I'm being told that this person, regardless of what your feelings are about sex work, and I think it's clear from at least what we were shown visually about this woman preparing for the evening, is she's not really okay with what she's doing out here. I think we're probably all supposed to react and say, 16 is like, yeah, this is not okay. Not okay at all. And it's interesting that, I mean, I know a little bit of what, I know it's about to come here. So there's a turn being set up here. This man who presumably, okay, maybe is just going to try and sort of talk her out of it. But wait, what's he reaching into his jacket for? Because if you did, you would have picked, you wouldn't have picked a vice detail on stakeout. Oh Christ, you're a fingerman. That's right. And these are my colleagues. You know, the laws on prostitution, that's a class H offense. That means we get to decide what happens to you. That's our prerogative. Please don't kill me. Oh no, look, please, mister. It was my first time. I'll do anything you want. Wow. Okay, what have we got going on here? Well, first of all, I guess he could have been pulling a weapon out of his jacket, maybe because we've just seen the so-called villain in the mask, okay, with the knives in his jacket. We're supposed to think that maybe that's what's coming. Fingerman, okay, is, now again, I have some prior knowledge, but I think we have enough to go with here based upon vice detail and stakeout, right? To know that these fingermen are some sort of undercover agency, Gestapo, police officers, etc. Right? The class H offense for prostitution, I don't know if that's really good or really bad, which is to say, I don't know if class A is the worst or class A is like the least offensive thing you can do. Right? They get to decide what happens to you. That's their prerogative. So a class H offense, does that really mean that? I have questions here. Is that really the law? That's interesting. Right? And over, I can't help but notice the sign, of course, strength through purity, purity through faith, which seems to be completely at odds with sort of everything about the scene we're seeing here. You've got it wrong, miss. You'll do anything we want and then we'll kill you. That's our prerogative. Oh, please don't. Oh, Jesus, no, please. Right? Why? Why do they need to, why are they killing her? Like, what's going, I don't understand. The implication is behind "we'll do anything we want" is rape. But like I don't want to be crass here, but do they just not want to pay? Like, clearly they're not about morally saving this woman, and I'm going to assume that they're not about morally saving the state or the country either. So like, why do they want to kill her? Right? And here we go to our next frame. Ah, yes, here comes the villain. The multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him. Who the hell? And fortune, on his damned quarrel smiling, showed like a rebel's whore. Yeah, Macbeth, let's go. Who's he? I don't know. Must be some kind of retard got out of a hospital. Hey, you. But all's too weak for brave Macbeth. Well, he deserves that name. What are you doing? You're in trouble, chum. Big trouble. This woman's a criminal. We're police officers. She's wanted for interrogation. So keep your hands off. Disdaining fortune with his brandished steel, which smoked with bloody execution, like valor's minion carved out his passage till he faced the slave. Oh. Which ne'er shook hands, nor bade him farewell. Tear gas, God, holy Christ! It's tear gas, bro! It's tear gas! I got his hand. What shall I do with this? Oh, Jesus! What the hell happened? He just came out of nowhere and just, what the hell happened? Frank's dead. They're all dead. Oh, Christ! What are we going to do? Find him. We've got to find him, or the head will have our guts. How did he do it? I never seen anybody move so fast. He killed Frank. That bastard. We've got to find him. You rescued me, like in a story. I don't believe it. All right, sorry, I was being a little slow with the last one, but I realized I got caught up. This is the first time it's happened with this graphic novel. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm in the rhythm of it. And you know what got me into the rhythm of it? Is that Macbeth-ish, right? This is from, for those of you who don't know, okay, and Fortune on his damn quarrel smiling. This whole bit this is from the very beginning of Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 1, when a captain, I believe, some rank, right, rushes on to tell King Duncan and his retainers, right, about how Macbeth single-handedly turned the tide of battle and won defense and glory for Scotland. Why is this significant to me? Well, I like Macbeth. Also, I'm a literature teacher. Also, again, I feel like I see what Alan Moore is doing here, right? We've identified the villain as this character who it would seem has just come in and at least temporarily, right, saved our female character. Maybe I should call her the protagonist because of our early introduction to her, but it seems a little too early for that, right? In Act 1 of Macbeth, and frankly, in Act 1 of really any Shakespearean tragedy, or perhaps any tragedy proper, right, we have the building up of our hero who will eventually have a tragic flaw, right, that perpetuates a fall, right? So in referencing Macbeth here, while we have someone come in and do something heroic, he is describing himself. This character is intentionally placing himself in the role of Macbeth, narrating that third person, right? So we have a character who is potentially self-aware of his own tragic and heroic nature, which is just fascinating to me. I really like this. I like what Alan Moore is doing here. If you don't like Macbeth, if you don't know Macbeth, you don't get any of that though, which is fascinating that you wouldn't necessarily read it at that meta level. You might be just going along with the basic plot, which is like, I don't even care what's going on with his hand here. It's some kind of grenade, looks like, tear gas. He shoots tear gas because his hand got pulled off. He killed the other people. I don't know. No, it blew up. There's a fire. Yeah, people are dead. It's confusing. I don't really care because I know what I need to know. A couple of these guys survived, right? The head is going to have their guts if they don't solve this problem. So we know that there's somebody in charge of this fingerman organization. Oh, I get it. Fingermen, right? They're the digits. They do the manipulation, right, as it were, right, for the head of whatever body politic we have. Interesting. It's not the queen. We've been told there's a queen. Queen's not going to have their guts. It's going to be the head, right? So we got a couple of them alive. We got some conflict started there. And now we're going to have at least some reconciliation or explanation between our villain, as it were, and the young woman he's just rescued. So I guess I'm going to stop it for there. I don't even know if this was interesting or engaging enough for anyone to follow along with. But here's some things I learned about myself through the process. I learned that I can get caught up in sort of a graphic novel and get pulled into it and read pretty quickly. I honestly learned that I have more fun when I lean into and try and like do voices. For the people when I made it performative. That got kind of fun for me. So maybe I should continue doing that, whether I'm sort of recording or not, as silly as it might seem. I have some early sort of affectation or not affectation, some early affection for the way in which this is being presented sort of cinematically. I thought the images moved well. I haven't really done any sort of microanalysis on the particular framing, except for that bit at the beginning where we did have the transition I liked from the preface to chapter 1. I also think we've got some intense, sort of as a teacher and as someone who's teaching this book, we've got some intense material right off the bat. I think it would be pretty clear from the first couple of pages of this graphic novel whether it was for you or not. I do have questions as to whether or not the salacious sort of material, like the suggestion of rape and the inclusion of someone who is, I mean, she's soliciting sex, a sex worker, if this might not function as sort of titillating adult content that would pull in younger readers. In a completely objective, sort of zoomed out sense, I don't know that I'm against that from an artistic perspective. I think it would all come down to the ultimate messages that you are intentionally trying to present through your work, whether or not it's okay to sort of grab a teenager, lure in a teenager with sort of sex and violence to teach them a lesson. I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea, but I also don't know what the authors were intending. I responded more to the language, I think I did, than I did to the images. And I certainly absolutely geeked out on the literary cross references. So we can tell with the connection I made to 1984 and the way in which the Macbeth sort of allusion, interpolation rather, grabbed me. I could step back and say that sort of literary allusion and cross literary references are something that help pull me into a text. Yeah, that's about all I got for now.